Hello, everybody. This is Scott with another Volley Rally. Man, I'm pinch hitting for Jake again, and God, it feels like I'm doing every one of them. But I've got a friend today doing some really cool stuff. Uh, we're going to talk about GEO, which everyone talks about SEO. Dave Spannhake from Reunion Marketing. Dave, how you doing today?
Doing good. Always good to see you, Scott.
Yeah. I think this is a really interesting topic for everyone. I love this slide because it's on every one of our mind. Um, Dave, you're an expert in SEO and search, but uh, we're going to talk about how that's changing today. But first, before we get going, could you talk about you and your company and just give people a little background on you and why you're an expert in this, in my opinion?
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I've been in auto for 20 years. So, I mean, I started Reunion with a few other folks that actually I hired as the marketing director for Leith Automotive. I spent 10 years there. I oversaw 33 stores and their marketing plans and then hired some really smart guys. Surrounded myself with those. And then those last 3 years we were there, we increased the lead volume to the group by 400%. They went from 800 million to 1.4 billion in revenue. And we said, well, let's start this ourselves. So we started 10 years ago, zero clients. And self-funded, and then now we're working with about 550 across the country, and since then also the founded with David Kane and Brent Williams, the Vendor 20 group, and we're both in that group together as the president of that organization. So that's my auto background.
Well, you are an expert in SEO, and I bet you've had to talk about, or you've really had to look in the mirror and see the changes that have been happening. I know for our perspective, when we look at our metrics, a year ago, ChatGPT didn't even show up. At the start of the year, it was like ninth on the list, and
Uh,
last month it was fourth. We all know where it's headed. So, could you talk about what is traditional SEO and what dealers have done in the past, a traditional dealer?
Yeah, I mean, the traditional SEO is actually, I think, really easy if you do it right, because you go into Google Search Console or you look at Google Ads query data and you can see here's all the different searches that consumers are looking at. And basically, you just need to show up for them. What are the searches that make the phone ring? What are the searches that get people to the dealership? You can track all of that. And then basically, if you're not ranking for those things, prioritize your effort, build content, be the one who's given the narrative, and that's the primary goal is those first one or two blue links on the Google search engine result page. Those are the ones that get the vast majority of all the organic clicks. I mean, those two alone, I mean, make up for, I mean, 75% of all the clicks that happen on organic. And so you just want to be in one of those top positions or else you don't get considered, and you're the only one in that case that's shaping the narrative. So it's pretty easy. Just show up and be the voice that's discussing it. Very different than what's happening with GEO though.
Yeah, your technology is incredible, and how you target it by region and such. But you've kind of had a look in the mirror moment, haven't you? Because everything's changing, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty scary, I think, at first. I mean, our approach is, what's happening in your market, right? So, very first and foremost, we like to just look at a map. Where are you selling cars? And then let's prioritize being seen by consumers in all the areas that we want to sell cars, or we want to, take market share from the competition. It's fun to, build an SEO plan around that or SEM plan. And then, as ChatGPT and Perplexity and Gemini and Grok and all these other AI, LLMs are out there. More acronyms for this industry. We didn't have enough. It's like, well, this is going to dramatically change things. Is that like, I mean, it's anytime that there's that much change, it's scary. I think at this point, though, now we are, I think, much more excited about it. The more complicated it gets, then I think that's a better thing for any of the dealerships that are at the forefront to take advantage. This is a huge take advantage moment for dealers, and those that are doing the right things to invest for the future are going to win over those that aren't.
Well, uh, this is why I had Dave on today. You early adopters are going to have an incredible advantage. So, what does GEO stand for, and how do you optimize for it?
Yeah, generative engine optimization. And the funny thing is, I mean, that's what a lot of people are going with. That might not end up being the long-term name. A lot of people are using different names for it. That's what the one that we're adopting, that we're seeing the most as we are reading about it. There's no blueprints out there. There's no templates for this though. So I mean, really a lot of people are just figuring it out as it goes. But essentially, more and more consumers are, making their shopping decisions based on information from, those different generative engines. And what you want to do is you want to be, one, seen across all of them, but you also, two, want to be seen with a positive light. It's very different than SEO where you build a page of content and then you show up in that first position and then you're the one telling the story. I mean, these generative engines, ChatGPT, it's deciding how to portray, each of the dealerships. So instead of just building a lot of great content on a website, which is still very important, in fact, I think more content is important so you can help shape how you're seen. But it's also pulling from Dealer Rater and Cars.com and Reddit and the manufacturer. And I mean, like everything is influencing where and how you're showing up. So it's way, way, way more extensive, than traditional search. And, it's going to be really important for dealers to get an idea of how to best measure it. And especially without being able to see information like you see in Search Console or Google Ads query data, there's no actual consumer usage data, so there's a little bit of guesswork that comes into it. But that's what been the exciting thing for us is doing that research and really identifying, okay, how do we best show up and be the influencers, across those results.
So, um, ChatGPT and the like, they're searching for content on your website, testimonials, right?
Yep.
Um, and reviews of the dealership as well. Anything else that really come into the calculation?
Well, I mean, just to expound upon some of those, these last several years, a lot of dealerships have really focused their review strategy to just be Google Business Profile and have gotten away from, getting stuff out on Edmunds and Cars.com and DealerRater and all these other review sites. Right now it's really important to make sure that what's being said on those other sites is, one is being refreshed with new relevant content, that it's good that you are managing your ORM strategy in a more complex environment. Kind of like, it really does kind of bring me back to when online reputation was first being talked about back in, 2007, 2008, 2010, when people started to focus on it because, they're getting stuff everywhere and then it got narrowed down. But now, I mean, if you have one, I was doing a search just today, actually building out a deck for our friend David Kane's conference that's coming up. And, they talked about all these good reviews on cars.com and on DealerRater. And then there was one bad review on Yelp. And they referenced that one bad review. I mean, it is that dialed in to where it's pulling information from everywhere. And if you're not keeping an eye on what's being said about you, what we keep seeing over and over again is, there's like there's stuff on, cars.com 2019 dealer of the year, 2017 best service, on Dealer Rater. And so people haven't been updating these pages. They haven't really thought or considered these pages, I mean, about their dealership and what's being communicated out there to these different LLMs. And so, it's actually very surprising often, BBB, all the stuff that's in BBB is influencing them. So, beginning to start tracking what's being said about you is what this is all about. And there's very few technologies out there that are even doing it because it's so new. But if you want to look at what's happening, just like you said, I mean, ChatGPT being, the fourth, biggest traffic source for one of your stores, it is growing so much faster than even people were predicting the usage of this. I mean, me personally, I use ChatGPT more than I use Google, and me 4 months ago, I don't know if I would have said that, I know I wasn't saying that, I'm surprised I am. It's just way easier for how I like to go about looking at things. And then the shopping experience is going to get that much more robust and good as they keep doubling down. I mean, they keep making updates all the time.
So, is there one review site that is weight heavier than others? Do you have any idea? Or do you really just need to, the breadth of the internet or the universe? You've got to be conscious of all of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's somewhat surprising to me. Dealer Rater is the one that we've seen the most. So we've been running all sorts of different prompt result research projects. I mean, we're building some pretty neat tech that's actually just about to fully come out. It's in beta right now. That shows, what your visibility is, how positive or negative it is, and then how many citations, basically how many sources are fueling that result. And so, I mean, Dealer Rater gets a ton of those. Cars.com gets a ton. Edmunds gets a ton. Those ones I think we see the most. I don't have the specific percentages ahead of me, but I mean that's that and it does vary by whether it's ChatGPT, which that's the one that you really want to focus on the most. That's 82% market share, I think, right now versus the other ones. So we really are just like Google owns the search market. ChatGPT owns the generative engine market right now, right, for these LLMs. I mean, those are the ones that we're seeing the most. But then at the same time, like just if you do just some basic searches, if you want to just check out on your own, go to ChatGPT and say, which dealership should I choose? Between you and your competitor or your competitors, and then you'll see where it's pulling from. I mean, do that a few times. Where should I buy a Ford F-150? What should I consider in this market for doing that? Those kind of searches, you'll see a lot of that stuff. And the ultimate goal is to be feeding it mostly with as much as you can get on your website as possible, because we know that if you end up driving traffic to your website, it's the land of no competitors. There's no the leads from your website usually convert 2 to 3 times higher, right? Because you're not also sending stuff out to third party where you got competitors that are getting leads too at the same time. So you want to do that, but knowing that this new environment, we can't just dominate the same kind of way as SEO. We just have to be there and be as visible as possible. And it's a little bit more like, trying to do the old Anheuser-Busch model where you have as many spots, on the grocery aisle as possible, but knowing that there's going to be other people there as well. So how do you own that market? And frankly, I mean, it's been so ignored, a lot of these other sources, because we've been as an industry really trying to focus on driving traffic just to our site, that there's a lot of work to be done for dealers who have not been paying attention.
Um, so you don't really just pick one. The work you do populates all of them.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. Well, it's really important to prioritize too, because there's so much to be done. Where are you being seen the most? What's influencing the most, and just work backwards. I mean, just like SEO, you can make it mathematical, and and the thing is, I mean, it's far different when it's whether it's new car related prompts, or used car related prompts, or just dealership by dealership. One of the things that goes into this that I think is very important is that PR is kind of back. Um, with SEO, it's like, look, let's get them the inventory. The cars are the stars. Let's let them shop. People are looking for things. They will make their own decisions based on what they're looking for. Now, what's being said about you or what you're saying about yourself goes into these answers. So all the awards and accolades you've had over the years, what is the actual experience like in the service department? What are you offering and making your customers feel throughout the process? What are the expectations that people can uh, should expect, I guess, when they're going to the dealership? And is that part of what you're building? When you're building your content out, when you're talking about yourself, when you're asking for reviews, those are the things that are now fueling a lot of this narrative. So, I mean, PR is a pretty important part of this that often, has been maybe overlooked in the past, because it's just how do we get the cars in front of the people looking for it the fastest, right?
Well, it massively changes your business too, right? Because instead of you placing ads and you must be helping dealers with tons of content, right?
Yeah, well, and I think this is the part that is Um, I think the hard thing right now, because right now, I mean, all search traffic, it's about 95% is still going to the traditional search engines. So, I mean, people are still largely doing Google and Bing, and I mean, Google owns that market, right? But I mean, Google, Bing, DuckDuckGo, Yahoo, those other things. I think it's 94.4, I think was yeah, I'm just looking at the stat here. 94.4% is what the number is on that. And so the vast majority is still going there, and just over 5% going to these other ones. But that's going to just change a lot over time. So, one of the mistakes that a lot of people make when they're doing SEO content is that they make it so robust that you're not getting the inventory in front of people, and then it doesn't convert, and people are not they're not shopping, they're not finding the right cars, they're not doing the things that are the shopping behaviors that get them to the dealership. So you really need to have a mix of that because you don't want to lose that, the not the Edmunds type page or the OEM page. You want the inventory to show up if someone's looking for a Ford F-150 for sale near me on Google. You want that content to be all built around conversion. But then you also have to build a different kind of content for the generative engines where you're talking about the experience and you're talking about all the dealership differentiators and you're talking about what are all the expectations that you're going to see and experience when you're there at the dealership in a different kind of way, long form content. So you want content that converts on the SEO side where you still are getting the vast majority of people, but you want to be building for the future. And so I think what a lot of because we live in the 30-day cycle in this industry, and a lot of it is like, what's my immediate ROI on what I'm spending on in this part of the marketing plan. GEO is not a today investment. It's an investment that you're going to be making knowing that, right now it's 5%, it's going to go to 10 and 20. And then, it's no one knows for sure. Google's released their AI mode, which actually, I mean, I think that's gotten better. I've been using, I mean, we play with all of them to get a good idea of how they're working. I mean, they're looking to try to stop the bleeding that's beginning to, it's more than just a little scratch now, a little more than a little kink in the armor.
Yeah.
Right now it's the balancing act because you don't want to miss out still in the 95% of searches. But if you're not investing in the future, then those that are going to be significantly ahead because there's a lot of work that goes into showing up in these things. And a lot of dealerships right now are not built to do that. Who's showing up right now is, OEMs or, the third party websites. And again, the more that we can be the ones influencing, the more that we're gonna get better leads, better quality leads, more to ourselves. I mean, that's the ultimate goal is not to take them where competitors are, but to own the space.
So Google isn't dead yet, but
Mhm.
you better be planning for a day when they're a lot less influential.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you see SEO is dead. I mean, everyone says that. I mean, they've been saying that. I mean, since about a month after SEO was first coined, I think. But it's certainly not dead, but it is way different. I mean, even the zero click searches on Google. I mean, that's 69% of all the searches on Google are happening without a click at the end.
Mhm.
But in the last 3 years, the number of searches overall has gone from 4 trillion to 5 trillion searches. I mean, people are because of these zero click searches able to search that much more, and they are. They're asking a lot of questions first. They're getting answers a lot faster and easier, and then they get to the commercial searches, which is the most important ones. Those ones most of the time don't have AI overviews. It's about 10% of the commercial searches. That's what a lot of people are calling it, where it's high intent, in market, ready to buy. Like I said, Ford F-150, for sale, or Ford F-150 prices, in the Dallas market, or whatever the intent search is. That's where they still recognize that consumers want to do the shopping. They want to see the options. They're not going to get the quick answer. They're going to, I think that experience is starting to evolve, and we're starting to see, different ways in which they're experimenting with layouts on those kind of searches. But it's still, the zero click searches are good because they get people into or down the funnel faster than having to do that themselves. And so that's why we've gone from 4 trillion to 5 trillion in just a few years in terms of total searches overall. I mean, it's Google's being used more than ever, not less.
Okay, I have two more questions and then one bonus question. So number one, uh, what should a dealer look for in an ad agency to help them with this? Give me a few questions that they should vet their potential vendor on if they're going to have help with this.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, first it starts with market understanding. Does your agency know who's selling cars and where they're selling cars? Where are the pockets that are that you need to own in your backyard? Where are the real battlegrounds? What are the comparisons between you and your competitors? If you're not armed with that kind of knowledge, I think it's really hard to even prioritize anything. You can't do SEO everywhere. There is a priority order. You can't do GEO everywhere. Like, where are the areas that we really want to be seen in the most that are going to have the biggest impact on sales? I think that's an important, first step. And then the next part is, I mean, just transparency and in your data and direction. I mean, how well are you like, are you tracking keywords in SEO? Are you monitoring your brand sentiment and your visibility in the prompts on the LLMs? Are where are you spending money and where are you not? And how does that relate to overall sales and market share on, things like paid search and those kind of things? I mean, I think those are the most important parts because, that's where the ROI, the immediate ROI is measured, and it's also where the long-term investment, in your future is understood by that kind of transparency.
What about, without getting into specifics, what should you ask a dealer, or what should a dealer ask their ad agency about pricing? Because you guys have a very high touch and fixed pricing model that I thought was very reasonable. So give some basic questions that they should ask when they're interviewing ad agencies to help with stuff like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think transparency in pricing is also something that is, I think a pretty major talking point right now in advertising. I was talking to, and we were actually talking before this interview about our mutual friend James Klaus, about just how many agencies out there are just ripping dealers off left and right and just overcharging on margins and not being transparent. So I think, first off, anytime that there's any kind of media buy, I think having a very source-driven reporting system. Everyone should have access to their own Google ads. I mean, are you charging commission, versus, just, flat fee, because then if you're advising people to spend more money and you're charging commission, I mean, obviously there's a direct correlation there on how that works. And I think just, I mean, anytime that I recommend any kind of marketing spend, I like to look at the marketing cost per car sold equation. This is the former VP of marketing in me. I think if dealers don't often have that as a goal to set up their overall marketing plan in general, I think that's the overall starting point is how many cars you want to sell, how much should we be spending for each car? I think as an industry, we're spending about twice as much as we should be. But back in, I mean, I know it's been 10 years now, but when I was the VP of marketing back there, we were about $200 a car on marketing. I mean, it's a several $1 million budget. I think it was about 8 million, but we were, I think a lot of people overspend because uh, they don't set those kind of goals. And I think all those things come into the equation as you're talking to your agency or any of your marketing partners.
Okay. Last question before my bonus question. Um, Give me you're a prospective dealer. You don't have an agency to help you with this. Give me the top three things that a dealer should start doing now to get ready to, I don't know, index well on the Chat GPTs, Groks of the world.
Yep. I mean, first and foremost, to identify how you're showing up now. You gotta have a benchmark somewhere so you can make sure that you are progressing throughout that time. So whether that is you're just running your own prompts in your markets, or you find some tools out there. There aren't many right now for GEO in the industry. There are actually very few, but some way that you can start benchmarking. How visible you are now. And then, following that, then, make sure that you are buttoned up on the online reputation management space. You are across, Google Business Profile, but way beyond that to all these directories that you're getting reviews everywhere, and that those reviews are positive because the negative sentiment, a lot, unlike SEO, again, like on the GEO side, you can show up, 85% of the time, but it could be 100% negative sentiment because they're pulling this information in from your reviews. So ORM, online reputation management, has never been, I don't think, more important than it is right now because it's always had an influence on the SEO side, but this is what's being said about you. I mean, they are deciding what to say about you. You don't get to pick anymore. And then finally, your visibility on the third party websites too. The Auto Traders, the Edmunds, the Cars.coms. Um, Dealerships have not cleaned up their images on that, and so I mean, I'm not kidding. I've seen some of those pages as non-updated as 10 years plus in the past that people haven't gone through and made those updates because it hasn't really mattered, I think, to a lot of dealerships because those pages were showing up in position page 2 of Google, right, where no one ever goes. I mean, getting further and further back. So just being buttoned up across the board, there's a lot of work to do. But again, it starts with benchmarking and then building a plan. Oh, I guess, and then lastly, build some major content, some long form content about your dealership, so that you're the one who's doing the most narration as in terms of what's being said about you. So keep your
Oh,
SEO strategy, but then build that long form content that's going to help you craft the narrative.
so what you're saying is the about us and any community pages they have really matter nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that would be one of the first pages to do. Your homepage and the About Us pages. I mean, those are very important now. More than ever, I think.
Okay, so here's my bonus question. It has nothing to do with GEO. Guys, this has been an awesome Volley Rally. I hope that you've stuck around this long because Dave's company does an awesome job. And this is about traditional SEO. Um, I see a lot of dealers do terrible job on Google My Business, that portion of that page. Um, what are the couple things that you need to make sure you've done because Google My Business is such a powerful, uh, I don't know, you want to call it a lead magnet or landing spot? Give us a couple Google My Business tips.
Well, I mean, so there's about 100 things that comes through in the API. I think I'm just showing with you a little bit of our tech when we go through and we like to rank, how optimized the page is. But I mean, you got your primary page, you got your service, listing, your parts listing underneath it, and within each one of those things, I mean, you want to make sure that you're updating photos. You want to make sure that you are, have your cars listed, your inventory actually listed. You want to make sure that I mean that you've got all your category. Probably if I would say the most important thing is that you have your categories, because this is what a lot of dealers don't have. And then there's actually a tool called GMB Spy, even though it's Google Business Profile, GMB Spy that George Nenny created, that you can go click on and just see what your categories are if you wanted to look it up like specifically. But I mean, there's so many things to optimize for. The nice thing is that it is a limited list. So, you want to have your categories. You want to make sure that your name, address, phone number, your citations are all put into place. You want to have your link to your service scheduler, but there's only so much you can do. Just make sure you do all of it. And so basically what you're doing is you're telling Google, hey, here's all the services that we offer so that you can show up more often, and then you make yourself look as good as you possibly can. And you check every box and fill it up with information. And the crazy thing is, um, I mean, I would say, like on the service and parts pages, that 85% of dealers across the country don't have more than 20 reviews. So they're not, they might be getting seen, but they don't get phone calls. There's a direct correlation. And I mean, nearly everyone has not gone through and done this. I mean, it's not like, now things do break, but I mean, optimizing that page, I mean, a lot of it is just making sure you go through and check it all off, and then just make sure that you are ongoing, monitoring it so that it doesn't change. But unlike your website where you can build content and content and content and content and content, there's only a limited amount of things you can do there. So just make sure you're doing it all, so you can help tell Google, hey, here's what we want to show up for, and here's what we're good at, and then get reviews.
Um, Folks, that is one of the great services they provide. And I know of a couple other people that do it, but most ad agencies don't keep that updated. These guys do it every month. Um, Ask your ad agency if they're going to keep that updated every month because it just blew me away. And I've been looking ever since I saw Dave's Tech to see, and a lot of dealers do not keep that updated. So um, this has been awesome today. Tell everyone how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, I mean, email is always a good method. Dave at reunionmarketing.com, nice and easy. Or LinkedIn, reach out, and I'm pretty active on there as well. Yeah, I would love talking about it. Obviously, if you can't tell, I'm very passionate about it. So,
For sure. Okay. Well, thank you. Have a good day, Dave.
hey, thanks, Scott.
Goodbye.